But with AI, the worst case scenario of everybody gets wiped out is a little bit different for the people making that decision. Because if I'm the CEO of DeepSeek and I make that AI that does wipe out humanity, and that's the worst case scenario, and it wasn't avoidable because it was all inevitable, then even though we all got wiped out, I was the one who built the digital god that replaced humanity, and there's kind of ego in that.
Guys, AI scientist Tristan Harris just gave a banger interview on AI and AGI. Tristan said that the biggest risk of AGI is not the loss of jobs, but the concentration of power. As soon as the AGI breaks in, a few corporations will run the entire world, and even governments will have to bend to them. There will be no need left for human labor, as robots are going to replace humans at almost every job. Tristan said that humanity will lose the ability to steer its future. He said that if AI is not controlled now, it'll become devastating for all of mankind. I'm going to roll the video first, and I'll give my opinion as we go.
So that's the thing that people really need to get, is that these companies are not racing to provide a chatbot to users. That's not what their goal is. If you look at the mission statement on OpenAI's website, or all the websites, their mission is to be able to replace all forms of human economic labor in the economy, meaning an AI that can do all the cognitive labor, meaning labor of the mind. So that can be marketing, that can be text, that can be illustration, that can be video production, that can be code production. Everything that a person can do with their brain, these companies are racing to build that. That is artificial general intelligence. General meaning all kinds of cognitive tasks. Demis Hassabis, the co-founder of Google DeepMind, used to say, first solve intelligence and then use that to solve everything else. Like, it's important to say, why is AI distinct from all other kinds of technologies? It's because if I make an advance in one field like rocketry, let's say I uncover some secret in rocketry, that doesn't advance like biomedicine knowledge, or doesn't advance energy production, or doesn't advance coding. But if I can advance generalized intelligence, think about all science and technology development over the course of all human history. So science and technology is all done by humans thinking and working out problems in any domain. So if I automate intelligence, I'm suddenly going to get an explosion of all scientific and technological development everywhere. Does that make sense?
Of course, yeah, it's foundational to everything.
Exactly. Which is why there's a belief that if I get there first and can automate generalized intelligence, I can own the world economy, because suddenly everything that a human can do that they would be paid to do in a job, the AI can do that better. And so if I'm a company, do I want to pay the human who has healthcare, might whistleblow, complains, has to sleep, has sick days, has family issues? Or do I want to pay the AI that will work 24/7 at superhuman speed, doesn't complain, doesn't whistleblow, doesn't have to be paid for healthcare? There's the incentive for everyone to move to paying for AIs rather than paying humans. And so AGI, artificial general intelligence, is more transformative than any other kind of technology that we've ever had. And it's distinct.
Next, the host asked Tristan, with the amount of money being invested into data centers and chips right now, are we going to be able to achieve AGI? And guys, just a quick reminder, big companies like OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle are investing $500 billion into Project Stargate. And according to AI scientists, this data center is going to become ground zero for AGI.
With the sheer amount of money being invested into it, and the money being invested into the infrastructure, the physical data centers, the chips, the compute, do you think we're going to get there? Do you think we're going to get to AGI?
I do think that we're going to get there. It's not clear how long it will take. And I'm not saying that because I believe necessarily the current paradigm that we're building on will take us there. But, I'm based in San Francisco. I talk to people at the AI labs. Half these people are friends of mine, people at the very top level. And, most people in the industry believe that they'll get there between the next 2 and 10 years at the latest. And I think some people might say, oh, well, it may not happen for a while. Phew, I can sit back and we don't have to worry about it. And it's like, we're heading for so much transformative change faster than our society is currently prepared to deal with it. And the reason I was excited to talk to you today is because I think that people are currently confused about AI. People say it's going to solve everything, cure cancer, solve climate change. And there's people say it's going to kill everything. It's going to be doom. Everyone's going to go extinct. If anyone builds it, everyone dies. And those conversations don't converge. And so everyone's just kind of confused where how can it be, infinite promise and how can it be infinite peril? And what I wanted to do today is to really clarify for people what the incentives point us towards, which is a future that I think people, when they see it clearly, would not want.
Next, Tristan talks about how companies are now competing for AGI, because whoever gets to the AGI first will have control over all other parties. The power that comes with AGI is not something anybody has ever imagined before. It would be like having total control over humanity. This is the reason we're seeing $500 billion going into one data center alone.
So what are the incentives pointing us towards in terms of the future?
So first is, if you believe that this is like, it's metaphorically, it's like the ring from Lord of the Rings. It's the ring that creates infinite power. Because if I have AGI, I can apply that to military advantage. I can have the best military planner that can beat all battle plans for anyone. And we already have AIs that can obviously beat Garry Kasparov at chess, beat Go, the Go Asian board game, or now beat StarCraft. So you have AIs that are beating humans at strategy games. Well, think about StarCraft compared to an actual military campaign, in Taiwan or something like that. If I have an AI that can outcompete in strategy games, that lets me outcompete everything. Or take business strategy. If I have an AI that can do business strategy and figure out supply chains and figure out how to optimize them and figure out how to undermine my competitors, and I have a step function level increase in that compared to everybody else, then that gives me infinite power to undermine and outcompete all businesses. If I have a super programmer, then I can outcompete programming. 70 to 90% of the code written at today's AI labs is written by AI.
Thinking about the stock market as well.
Thinking about the stock market. If I have an AI that can trade in the stock market better than all the other AIs, because there's mostly AIs that are actually trading on the stock market, but if I have a jump in that, then I can consolidate all the wealth. If I have an AI that can do cyber hacking, that's way better at cyber hacking and a step function above what everyone else can do, then I have an asymmetric advantage over everybody else. So AI is like a power pump. It pumps economic advantage, it pumps scientific advantage, and it pumps military advantage, which is why the countries and the companies are caught in what they believe is a race to get there first. And anything that is a negative consequence of that, job loss, rising energy prices, more emissions, stealing intellectual property, security risks, all of that stuff feels small relative to, if I don't get there first, then some other person who has less good values as me, they'll get AGI, and then I will be forever a slave to their future. And I know this might sound crazy to a lot of people, but this is how people at the very top of the AGI AI world believe is currently happening. And that's
you've
what
had those
justifies
conversations.
Yeah. You've had Jeff Hinton and Roman Yablonsky on and other people, Mogadot, and they're saying the same thing. And I think people need to take seriously that whether you believe it or not, the people who are currently deploying the trillions of dollars, this is what they believe. And they believe that it's winner take all. And it's not just first solve intelligence and use that to solve everything else. It's first dominate intelligence and use that to dominate everything else.
Have you had concerning private conversations about this subject matter with people that are in the industry?
Absolutely. I think that's what most people don't understand, is that there's a different conversation happening publicly than the one that's happening privately. I think you're aware of this as well.
I am aware of this.
What do they say to you?
So it's not always the people telling me directly. It's usually one step removed. So it's usually someone that I trust and have known for many, many years who at a kitchen table says, I met this particular CEO. We were in this room talking about the future of AI. This particular CEO they're referencing is leading one of the biggest AI companies in the world. And then they'll explain to me what they think the future is going to look like. And then when I go and watch them on YouTube or podcasts, what they're saying is they have this real public bias towards the abundance part, we're going to cure cancer.
Cure cancer, universal high income for everyone.
All this stuff.
People won't have to work anymore.
But then privately, what I hear is exactly what you said, which is really terrifying to me. There was actually, since the last time we had a conversation about AI on this podcast, I was speaking to a friend of mine, very successful billionaire, knows a lot of these people, and he is concerned because his argument is that if there's even like a 5% chance of the adverse outcomes that we hear about, we should not be doing this. And he was saying to me that some of his friends who are running some of these companies believe the chance is much higher than that, but they feel like they're caught in a race where if they don't control this technology and they don't get there first and get to what they refer to as takeoff, like fast takeoff.
Yeah, recursive self-improvement or fast takeoff, which basically means what the companies are really in a race for, you're pointing to, is they're in a race to automate AI research Because so right now you have OpenAI, it's got a few thousand employees. Human beings are coding and doing the AI research. They're reading the latest research papers. They're writing the next, they're hypothesizing what's the improvement we're going to make to AI, what's a new way to do this code, what's a new technique. And then they use their human mind and they go invent something. They run the experiment and they see if that improves the performance. And that's how you go from GPT-4 to GPT-5 or something. Imagine a world where Sam Altman can, instead of having human AI researchers, can have AI researchers. So now I just snap my fingers and I go from one AI that reads all the papers, writes all the code, creates the new experiments, to I can copy paste 100 million AI researchers that are now doing that in an automated way.
I'm going to pause it here for a bit. Guys, what Tristan is saying here is quite scary. When AI becomes self-sufficient, basically the AGI level AI, that's when AI starts feeding itself. It won't need humans for growth anymore. And at that same time, it'll protect itself as well. This is going to be the point when humans lose control over AI, because AI will evolve itself into languages which humans won't be able to understand. I mean, this is pretty scary stuff to even think about.
And the belief is not just that, the companies look like they're competing to release better chatbots for people, but what they're really competing for is to get to this milestone of being to automate an intelligence explosion or automate recursive self-improvement, which is basically automating AI research. And that, by the way, is why all the companies are racing specifically to get good at programming. Because the faster you can automate a human programmer, the more you can automate AI research. And just a couple weeks ago, Claude 4.5 was released, and it can do 30 hours of uninterrupted complex programming tasks at the high end. That's crazy.
So right now, one of the limits on the progress of AI is that humans are doing the work.
Yes.
But actually, all of these companies are pushing to the moment when AI will be doing the work, which means they can have an infinite, arguably smarter, zero-cost workforce.
That's right.
Scaling the AI. So when they talk about fast takeoff, they mean the moment where the AI takes control of the research and progress rapidly increases.
And it self-learns and recursively improves and invents. So one thing to get is that AI accelerates AI, right? Like if I invent nuclear weapons don't invent better nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
But if I invent AI is intelligence. Intelligence automates better programming, better chip design. So I can use AI to say, here's a design for the NVIDIA chips. Go make it 50% more efficient, and it can find out how to do that. I can say, AI, here's a supply chain that I need for all the things for my AI company. And it can optimize that supply chain and make that supply chain more efficient. Mm-hmm. AI, here's the code for making AI. Make that more efficient. AI, here's training data. I need to make more training data. Go run 1 million simulations of how to do this, and it'll train itself to get better.
What do you think
AI accelerates AI.
What do you think these people are motivated by? The CEOs of these companies?
That's a good question.
Genuinely, what do you think their genuine motivations are? When you think about all these names.
I think it's a subtle thing. I think there's, it's almost mythological because there's almost a way in which they're building a new intelligent entity that has never before existed on planet Earth. It's like building a god. I mean, the incentive is build a god, own the world economy, and make trillions of dollars, right? If you could actually build something that can automate all intelligent tasks, all goal achieving, that will let you outcompete everything. So that is a kind of godlike power that I think imagine energy prices go up or hundreds of millions of people lose their jobs. Those things suck. But relative to if I don't build it first and build this god, I'm going to lose to some maybe worse person who I think, in my opinion, not my opinion, Tristan, but their opinion thinks is a worse person. It's a kind of competitive logic that self-reinforces itself. But it forces everyone to be incentivized to take the most shortcuts, to care the least about safety or security, to not care about how many jobs get disrupted, to not care about the well-being of regular people, but to basically just race to this infinite prize. So there's a quote that a friend of mine interviewed a lot of the top people at the AI companies, like the very top, and he just came back from that and basically reported back to me and some friends, and he said the following. In the end, a lot of the tech people I talk to, when I really grill them on it, about like why you're doing this, they retreat into number one, determinism, Number 2, the inevitable replacement of biological life with digital life. And number 3, that being a good thing anyways. At its core, it's an emotional desire to meet and speak to the most intelligent entity that they've ever met. And they have some ego-religious intuition that they'll somehow be a part of it. It's thrilling to start an exciting fire. They feel they'll die either way, so they prefer to light it and see what happens.
That is the perfect description of the private conversations.
Doesn't that match what
That's
you
the
have?
perfect description.
Doesn't it? And that's the thing. So people may hear that and they're like, well, that sounds ridiculous. But if you actually...
I just got goosebumps because it's the perfect description, especially the part they'll think they'll die either way.
Exactly. Well, and worse than that, some of them think that in the case where if they were to get it right and if they succeeded, they could actually live forever. Because if AI perfectly speaks the language of biology, it will be able to reverse aging, cure every disease. And so there's this kind of, I could become a god. And I'll tell you, you and I both know people who've had private conversations. Well, one of them that I have heard from one of the co-founders of one of the most powerful of these companies, when faced with the idea that what if there's an 80% or 20% chance that everybody dies and gets wiped out by this, but an 80% chance that we get utopia, he said, well, I would clearly accelerate and go for the utopia. Given a 20% chance.
It's crazy.
People should feel you do not get to make that choice on behalf of me and my family. We didn't consent to have 6 people make that decision on behalf of 8 billion people. We have to stop pretending that this is okay or normal. It's not normal.
I think Tristan is right here. Just a few billionaires are basically making decisions for the entirety of humanity. I mean, 8 billion people have literally no say in where AI is going. And when you tell these tech billionaires to put some guardrails or safeguards on these AI systems, they start saying that China is not putting safety barriers on their companies, then why would America be putting safeguards on theirs? Because safeguards would slow down the AI growth. I mean, when they come up with such arguments, they show their mentality. They don't give a damn that billions are going to be out of jobs in the coming years.
And the only way that this is happening and they're getting away with it is because most people just don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what do you think when
I mean, everything you just said. It's that last part about the 80-20% thing is almost verbatim what I heard from a very successful friend of mine who is responsible for building some of the biggest companies in the world, when he was referencing a conversation he had with the founder of maybe the biggest AI company in the world. And it was truly shocking to me because it was said in such a blasé way.
Yes. It wasn't, that's what I had heard in this particular situation. It wasn't like...
It was like matter of fact.
It's just matter of fact. It's just easy. Yeah, of course I would I'd roll the dice. And even Elon Musk he actually said the same number in an interview with Joe Rogan. And if you listen closely when he said, I decided I'd rather be there when it all happens. If it all goes off the rails, I decided in that worst case scenario, I decided that I'd prefer to be there when it happens. Which is it's just justifying racing to our collective suicide. Now, I also want people to know, you don't have to buy into the sci-fi level risks to be very concerned about AI. So hopefully later we'll talk about the many other risks that are already hitting us right now that you don't have to believe any of this stuff.
Yeah, the Elon thing I think is particularly interesting because for the last 10 years, he was this slightly hard to believe voice on the subject of AI. He was talking about it being a huge risk and an extinction level event.
He was the first AI risk people. Yeah, he was saying, this is more dangerous than nukes. He was saying, I try to get people to stop doing it. This is summoning the demon. Those are his words, not mine.
Yeah.
We shouldn't do this. Supposedly, he used his first and only meeting with President Obama, I think in 2016, to advocate for global regulation and global controls on AI because he was very worried about it. And then really what happened is ChatGPT came out, and as you said, that was the starting gun. And now everybody was in an all-out race to get there first.
He tweeted words to the effect, I'll put it on the screen. He tweeted that he had remained in, I think he used a word similar to disbelief for some time, like suspended disbelief. But then he said in the same tweet that the race is now on.
The race is on, and I have to race.
And I have to go. I have no choice but to go. And he's basically saying, I tried to fight it for a long time. I tried to deny it. I tried to hope that we wouldn't get here, but we're here now, so I have to go.
Yep.
And at least he's being honest. He does seem to have a pretty honest track record on this because he was the guy 10 years ago warning everybody. And I remember him talking about it and thinking, oh, God, this is like 100 years away. Why are we talking about this?
I felt the same, by the way.
Yeah.
Some people might think that I'm some kind of AI enthusiast and I'm trying to ratchet. I didn't believe that AI was a thing to be worried about at all until suddenly the last 2-3 years where you can actually see where we're headed. But, oh man, there's so much to say about all this. So if you think about it from their perspective, it's like best case scenario, I build it first and it's aligned and controllable, meaning that it will take the actions that I want, it won't destroy humanity, and it's controllable, which means I get to be God and emperor of the world. Second scenario, it's not controllable, but it's aligned. So I built a God and I lost control of it, but it's now basically it's running humanity, it's running the show, it's choosing what happens, it's outcompeting everyone on everything. That's not that bad an outcome. Third scenario, it's not aligned, it's not controllable, and it does wipe everybody out. And that should be demotivating to that person, to an Elon or someone. But in that scenario, they were the one that birthed the digital God that replaced all of humanity. Like, this is really important to get because in nuclear weapons, the risk of nuclear war is an omni-lose-lose outcome. Everyone wants to avoid that. And I know that you know that I know that we both want to avoid that. So that motivates us to coordinate and to have a nuclear non-proliferation treaty. But with AI, the worst case scenario of everybody gets wiped out is a little bit different for the people making that decision. Because if I'm the CEO of DeepSeek and I make that AI that does wipe out humanity, and that's the worst case scenario, and it wasn't avoidable because it was all inevitable, then even though we all got wiped out, I was the one who built the digital God that replaced humanity, and there's kind of ego in that.
I think Tristan is making the right comparison here. AI is something that could be far more dangerous than nukes, because right now, to prevent nuclear war, we have treaties between every nuclear-powered country. But when it comes to AI, it's totally lawless. Nobody is asking questions. It's basically a race to the top. Whoever gets there first is going to control everyone else. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. I'll see you soon with another one.